Now he's thinking about me every night. Oh, is it that sweet? I guess so. Say you can't sleep, baby, I know. That's that me espresso. Move it up, down, left, right, oh. Switch it up like Nintendo. Say you can't sleep, baby, I know. That's that me espresso.
Mate, the cactus have become some of the most high maintenance plants in my garden this summer, and I am not okay with that. Let's start at the beginning, because I thought I'd built a garden that could survive summer. Low maintenance, tough plants, summer dry. And then the Australian summer arrived. And you have to understand that Australian summers are not your textbook gardening summers. The experience varies across the country because it's a big country, but generally the sun is aggressive, the heat comes in waves, and anything in a pot cooks. By early spring, I could already see it. Things weren't growing, plants were stressed. In spring, even the cactus, oh my God, started acting like divas. In an unbelievable turn of events, we have begun pandering to them more than any other plant in our garden. That's not how it's supposed to go. Summer didn't just test the garden, it tested me. I had to pay attention, adjust, slow down, learn a few new things, and somehow, after multiple heat waves and hot spells and experiments and trial and error, the garden didn't just survive, she grew up a little. And to be quite frank, so did I. And she's looking really good. I can see the cactus meadow vision that I originally had for this garden starting to come into its own. So let's talk how I got this garden through the Australian summer. Let me set the scene. It's Sydney, Australia. Australia, the summers here are hot. They can get pretty sticky. Humid 1 minute, brutally sunny the next, and then bam, you'll get a 5-minute storm that wasn't even on the forecast. It's cloudy right now, so it could happen any minute. The key to getting this garden through summer happens way before summer even starts. Let me show you.
Too bad your ex don't do it for you. Walked in and dream came true for you. Soft skin and not perfume for you. Yes, I know I'm Amending, do it for you. Yes, that morning coffee brewed for you. Yes, one touch and I'm brand new for you. Now he's
Soil, water, fertilize. You gotta hit those reps. Now, I'm far from perfect at keeping my routines up, so this is as much a note for me as it is anyone else. A healthy plant isn't just pretty, it's tough. It'll survive almost anything summer throws at it. Assuming, of course, that you've picked the right plants for your zone, so do your research. That wasn't in my talking points, but it's crucial. So spring hit and my soil absolutely flipped out. It warmed up pretty quick after the winter, and then the soil got really stressed and cracked and dry, and it was like really hydrophobic. A good chunk of my plants were not growing, and it was spring, mind you. I tried a wetting agent, it didn't do much. It just felt like I was spreading soap everywhere. Yeah, it just didn't do anything. I then got this ebook about soil from Casey Joy. She's a gardener from Perth. I follow her on Instagram. And she basically wrote this guide to fixing your soil so you can get like lush cottage garden vibes, even in Perth's hot desert summers and really sandy soil. The moral of the story is I added compost. And then I mulched very heavily. And suddenly, my soil could hold water, it could hold nutrients, it could hold life. So most of the perennials in my garden are drought tolerant once established. And the key words are once established. Young plants still need a lot of love, which is what I tend to forget. I was hand watering forever. Ain't nobody got time for that. I considered drip irrigation, but that can get pretty expensive and it's pretty permanent, which is not ideal for a rental. For the longest time, I thought those were my only two options, like it was either hand watering or drip irrigation. Enter, dun, 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 weeper hoses. And thank the Lord that I learned about these. They just sit very quietly in the garden and do their thing. And the garden gets a deep watering. That was my problem. I was barely soaking the soil when I was hand watering. I would have to be standing out here with the hose for a long time. So the weeper hoses are much cheaper than drip irrigation. They're really flexible and they're not permanent, which is really great for a rental setup. It comes with its own set of problems, as is with every system. People have complained about blockages. I've yet to experience that. I'm sure I will in the future. Do the research and make the best choice for your garden. Also, people tend to use the names weeper hose and soaker hose interchangeably. From what I've learned in my travels, oh, that's a nice breeze. From what I have learned in my vast travels across the internet, soaker hoses are those flat green hoses where the water shoots up, which makes them really good for lawns, but you can flip them over so the water goes directly into the soil. And the weeper hoses are the ones that I'm using here in this garden. I've basically threaded the hoses through the driest spots of the garden. This one here, believe it or not, and the spot that mirrors this one on the other side of the garden path. Basically, the top of the slope is where it gets really bad in terms of sun and dryness. These spots were horrendously dry. I would hand water and it would do nothing. So these were the areas where I also really focused on layering the compost and the mulch. I didn't really touch anything at the bottom of the slope, and you'll see why in a minute. Somebody asked me how I water all of my plants without making the cactus rot. I do a deep watering with the soaker hoses in like 90 minutes, maximum once a week during summer. And that's only if it hasn't rained. I go for longer if there's been rain. If I'm finding that plants need an extra boost, I water directly into the root ball with a hose nozzle, and that doesn't seem to bother the surrounding cactus. There's a lot of cactus that are in pots as well, and the ones that are in the ground don't really have the weeper hoses near them. That's a lie. This one does. This one does. This is a Pachinoi. Pachinois can take whatever. I've seen these buried in manure and they're thriving. Like, I don't know what's going on. If you want a tough cactus for humid weather, go a Pachinoi. The hoses do not cover the entire garden. All of this along here, yes, I know this needs to be pruned back. Look at it eating up the garden path, but I'm not going to touch it until the weather gets cooler. All of this bit along here, all of this bit along here, and all of this here. Those spots only get hand watering, and that's pretty much only when it's really hot. I think the reason why these spots down here at the bottom of the slope have been more successful than the ones at the top, I mean, one, they get really brutal sun up there, but secondly, I've planted much closer together at the bottom of these slopes. I basically ignored all of the spacing rules. If I could do this all over again, I would be planting much closer together than what's recommended. And if I need to move a plant because it's outgrown its spot, I will move it in the autumn. The ones that have been planted a little more close-knit have been able to take care of themselves. They've established their own ecosystem in that little spot, and now they're thriving. Even some of the cactus have ground covers growing all up in their business. I like the look of it. I will need to keep an eye on it just in terms of, you know, whether it's allowing the soil around the cactus to breathe or whatever. I wouldn't recommend that for every single cactus, but very generally, I think that I would not be so scared to plant a little closer together.
Yes, I know I'm Mountain Dew for you. Yes, that morning coffee brewed for you.
Oh, good morning. I just woke up. This isn't my finest look, but if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Heat waves, hey? What a thing to try and explain at 7:30 in the morning. So, to most people's surprise, a heat wave isn't just a single spike in temperature. For something to be classified as a heat wave, here in Australia, both the maximum and the minimum temperature have to be unusually hot for a certain location over at least 3 days. So that minimum overnight temperature is really important, because if it doesn't cool down enough, there's no recovery window for people and animals and ecosystems. And that's actually where a lot of the really insidious damage can be done. So luckily, for the people in Sydney, today we're just getting a spike. It's going to be 40, 42 degrees today, and then the temperatures are going to come back down tomorrow, sort of. It's still going to be 30 degrees at 11 tonight. Other parts of Australia are not so lucky. That's the 10-day for cactus country. Mate, that's dangerous. Okay, watering. So about a week ago, we had like 7 days of sideways rain. So I actually haven't watered the garden since. This morning, I'm putting the weeping hoses on for about 90 minutes just to give everything a proper drink. It's quite cool right now. It's almost a little bit chilly, which is quite nice, and that's the optimal time to water. And then I'll hand water the bits that don't get covered by weeping hoses. So that's the lower ends of the garden beds and the kitchen garden. Ever since I installed the weeper hoses, I pretty much stopped regular watering. Now the garden gets a deep soaking with the hoses running for about 90 minutes, but less often. All of the plants are drought tolerant, so this is what they actually prefer. In early January, we copped a 3-day heat wave. It was pretty brutal. On day 1, I did 90 minutes on the hoses really early in the morning, then a 20-minute top-up morning of day 2. Day 3 was actually the hottest, but the soil was still kind of damp, so I left it. When soil stays wet during intense heat, the roots can't breathe, and that's when rot sets in. I literally just woke up. This is not my best look, is it? Yeah, I've got some sleep scars here. It's just after 7 in the morning. I am out here watering the garden. Look at the light. The sun is so pretty when it's not killing things. Yesterday was okay. It was 36 degrees C, and today it's gonna reach 39. Tomorrow is 39, and then Saturday is the kicker. It's gonna be like 43. And so the garden's gonna get a little stressed, and I'm just gonna have to let the plants tough it out. Heat waves are not about growth, they're about survival mode. The biggest shift for me was learning to buffer the extremes instead of reacting to them. So rather than panic watering when everything looked sad, all that prep I'd done earlier in the season, this is where it actually paid off. Everything slowed down in the summer, and I just had to focus on helping things get through to the other side. Late in the season, we are hitting mid-30s almost every week, and the humidity has become unrelenting this month, so I had to let go of my routines, including fertilizing. I don't fertilize the garden in a heat wave, and to be honest, I've pretty much slowed that right down in summer in general. The plants are in survival mode, so they're not taking in food anyway. Honestly, this is a time where I've learned to back off and let the plants handle it. And you know what? After every brutal stretch of heat, the garden has pulled through, mostly unscathed, every single time. Holy moly, it is so humid right now. I feel like I'm in the tropics. If you see me get a case of Sula, you know what's going on. I need to... Now, the cactus. I love them. My garden is full of them. So we are going to talk cactus care in the summer. And this is where the plot twist happens. Since spring, some of our cacti have been getting sun stressed, which is a little rude considering that their whole thing is desert survivor. Although I bet you the cactus out in the wild are looking pretty wrecked from the extreme elements. And also, this is important, in Sydney, our UV index regularly hits very high to extreme in summer. It can get much more intense than other parts of the world. My God. So even if the temperature doesn't look outrageous, the sunlight itself can be very intense. And so can the humidity, apparently. Oh my, why I'm filming this at midday, I don't know. Full sun in Australia can look very different from your gardening textbook definition of full sun. And FYI, full sun in gardening terms usually means 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight, not literally sunrise to sunset, unless you're living in a part of the world where that's what you get. My eyeballs are freaking sweating. I'm dying. This feels like unusually high humidity today. Oh my God. Most of our cactus cope just fine with our higher than normal UV levels, but the Ferrocactus hystrix and the fishhook cactus have been struggling all spring and summer. They need extra protection and monitoring. We use this fly screen. This was a tip from Cactus Vision. They're an incredible cactus retailer in Sydney. When Tim bought the fishhook cactus from them, the owner told him to throw one of these on it while it acclimatized in our garden. It's not as dense as shade cloth. So this is shade cloth right here. Shade cloth is designed to block out a certain percentage of light. Fly screen still lets most of the sun through, but it breaks up the intensity. Think of fly screen as almost like dappled light. You're not giving it full protection, but you're just taking the edge off. During a proper heat wave of high 30s, low 40s, most of our cactus will get one of these. You could use shade cloth. The thing is that most of the cactus in this garden can already handle the high UV levels. They just struggle when all of the stresses stack up. So we're talking extreme heat plus high UV plus hot nights where things don't get a chance to properly recover. Fly screen is temporary. It's not a long-term solution. We're not growing or building a collection under constant shade. These plants are part of the garden. They are exposed to the elements all year round. This is just a buffer for those peak heat wave hours. And honestly, this is just like a small thing, but it's made all the difference in helping them get through the worst of the heat. The hystrix and the fishhook, though, we're probably going to have to relocate those to a bit of a shadier spot. In their current spots, there's just too much sun for them long term. I'm gonna freaking go inside. I'm dying. I'm like swimming in sweat. If you can't already tell, I'm very heat sensitive. I find that it slows me down. I tire very easily from it. It's not as much time spent out here, I do have to say. It's so hot. I'm gonna go inside to the air conditioning now. Okay. I bunched them up.
Yeah, I saw.
According to size.
Makes sense.
All right, apparently it's gonna be 40 to 42 tomorrow. Does everyone get a funeral veil?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's medium, small, large.
So I'm going to put 2 on fishhook because that's looking terrible.
Whiskey gets one.
Everyone gets one on 40 degrees.
Is it better to put it at the crown or it doesn't matter?
The crown I think is better because this is the growing part.
Okay, yeah. Not all cacti are the tough, sun-loving heroes we imagine. Some really struggle in summer. All right, is this okay?
Yep.
In our garden, the Pachinois, Bentley the Stenoceras, and the Golden Barrels are usually pretty safe bets, although the twins did get a bit scorched this season. They're still small, so lesson learned, keep an eye on the young ones. Anything with hair is also a champ. It's like its natural armor. It protects the cactus from both scorching sun and frost. The more sensitive ones for us are definitely the Matillos, a few Gymnocalyciums, and as we already mentioned, Hendrix the Hystrix and the Fishhook Barrel. Also, Parodium magnifica, believe it or not. Okay, quick signs that your cactus might be sun-stressed. Wrinkling, yellowing, paling. If you spot any of these and can't move the cactus because it's in the ground, protect it with a bit of shade cloth or fly screen. To help it bounce back, you can give it a gentle dose of sea salt once temperatures come down, but skip fertilizer for reasons we talked about earlier. And the little pup?
Yeah.
I think these are probably still a little bit tender, so I'm just gonna so we're not covering this side, the sun is pointing that way. Because the sun comes this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we happy with all of that?
Yeah.
This became a bit of a summer ritual. Fly screen on, fly screen off, fly screen on, fly screen off. You know what? I think the garden is looking pretty great for having been hit with a 40-degree day a couple of days ago. Doesn't look like anything really suffered, which is great. We could have left them on all season, but 2 reasons. 1, they're ugly, and I didn't design a whole garden just to look at cactus covered in fly screen. And 2, it actually doesn't help the cacti build resilience. Like anything, strength training needs to be gradual. So during that first heat spike, we started with everyone getting a screen. By the second, only half needed it. By the third, even less. You get the picture. And by summer's end, even with rising heat and humidity, most could handle it on their own. The really, really hot days, however, are different. When it hits 40 degrees C, everyone gets protection. Remember that it's all about managing those stacked stresses. I do have to show you this Coreopsis situation. Look at these blooms, they just exploded with the hot weather. Ah, they look so magical. I adore this plant so much. It desperately needs a trim back because all of this is happening. So I might do a midsummer prune when we've got a week of cooler weather. But for now, I think I'm just gonna enjoy this. What the heck? George, come here. Looks pretty good. It's late February, and while I don't think we are completely out of the woods with the heat, no. The garden has found its own rhythm for getting through summer. It's messy and slightly overgrown, but in that nostalgic end of summer kind of way. I know it's a weird way of putting it, but it reminds me of gardens that have lived a little. It's not tidy, it's very weedy, it's definitely gone a little rogue, and there have definitely been casualties. Look at this. And this. That's the helianthemum. Same plant over here. It's just doing so much better in this spot. But it's also soft around the edges. It's full, it's lush, and there's something charming about its unruliness. I did plant more things right at the beginning of summer that I haven't shown you yet, like this ornamental grass. And then I'm pretty sure, where is, oh yeah, this is an ornamental grass right here. It's a Pennisetum red buttons. The seed heads, they will turn red eventually. It's a very beautiful plant. Oh, this was the only thing I kind of planted late summer. Rudbeckia. I think that's quite pretty there. The Coreopsis and the calendula are like badly falling over. I think I'm gonna give it a chop back after today. It's still gonna be a really hot day today, but cooler later in the week. This Coreopsis over here got a midsummer trim, and I was able to get like a really nice flush of blooms back on that. Looks pretty good. The only thing that I'm kind of not super happy with is the fern lavender. I just feel like it looks leggy, it looks very stringy, and I'm finding that I'm missing that classic lavender look, like of the lavender dentata that I used to have in my old garden. So I'm thinking about replacing those. I don't like it. Australian summer has a way of slowing everything down. The sunlight is harsh, the days are stretched, and the heat can press down so relentlessly you realize there is no outpacing it. All you can do is step back and let the garden ride out the dog days. This is my first summer with this many perennials in the ground, and genuinely, I was not expecting them to pull through like this. My last garden was mostly succulents, and by the end of summer, they were always looking a little bit exhausted and a little bit deflated. So I think I was half expecting them to shut down in the same way, but instead, there has been so much growth, way more than I anticipated. This time last year, I was planting the first cactus in the garden. This one, right here. I was using a pickaxe to break ground. I was planting cottage plants and not mulching. I didn't know what I was doing. And now there's weeper hoses and compost and mulch. There is still so much to learn, but I definitely feel like I've leveled up a bit as a gardener this summer. And I think that there's a confidence that comes with that too. Like this underlying sense that if something falters, I'll figure it out. Or that sometimes the garden will just sort itself out. It's strange because it's technically growing season, and part of me thinks that I should be out here doing more. But with the weather and the temperatures being so erratic, the only real option has been to trust the groundwork and to let the garden be. And I was worried that cutting and pruning back while we've got temperatures in the mid-30s every week wouldn't just stress out the plants, but it would take away valuable shelter and shade during the heat. Maybe that's the lesson of the summer. Not constant activity, but restraint. A few adjustments, trusting what you've put in place, and then taking a step back and watching the garden carry itself through. Ah, look, she's growing up. Am I talking about the garden or myself? Maybe both.